Salute, salute. What's cracking, people? It's your baby mama's favorite cousin, Cousin Tita. And today we have none other than the legendary Pimp Jeezy himself, Pimp
Yes,
God.
sir.
So
Sir.
the last time that we spoke, we were over on IG, and it was definitely a memorable conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So for the YouTube crowd, in this section, clearly a lot of people already know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just be clear about it. But in terms of reintroductions for this particular conversation that we're having, go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know what you do.
Okay, my name is Warren B. I'm author of my most famous book, Pimp God, What Your Mama Should Have Told You. It's available on Amazon.com, also in ebook form, audiobook form. And, I started a company that sort of was built behind the success of my book. So I started a company and a brand named after the book, Pimp God, and sort of developed a moniker, a name for myself, also based on that same title. And, just over years, I was incorporated in 2022 and just been building my company ever since. So it's just been a process, but I really specialize in audiobooks and basically education is, but then there's a fashion line and a whole lifestyle brand that follows that too. Yeah.
Excellent. Let's get a round of applause for that. Excellent intro. We appreciate that. You see, I'm messing with the keyboard here. We're
Yeah, I
trying to
see
get it together. Trying to get
give me
together.
a Kevin sandwich. That's what's up.
Oh man, you know what? We try to carry the torch forward. That's all we can do.
That's right.
So what I would like to establish, because I want to be clear. I want to be clear about the conversations that we have in this space. Indeed, um, along with the introduction, along with your background, along with uh, the products that you have available to everyone,
Yeah.
I like to ask the question:
Mhm.
what do you bring to the game, or this thing we call game? What would you say that you bring to this game?
Um, my monopoly on the game is actually um, that I merge um, mystical science and esoteric knowledge with what they call pimpology. You see what I'm saying? So I merge those two things together. And some people wonder how I even do that. You know what I mean? Even when they listen to my stuff, they can hear my early training in esoteric knowledge and understanding. Um, and it just kind of perplexes them how I'm able to merge um, the ideas in pimpology and relate it to metaphysics, higher spirituality, psychology, um, neurology, you know what I'm saying? Philosophy, you know, and spirituality, and all of that stuff is rolled into one. That's my monopoly of it in the game.
Excellent, excellent. We appreciate that, and we're definitely going to be getting into a lot of aspects of what you bring to the game
Mhm.
this evening in this conversation. But before we get
Yeah,
into that, let's give a little few shout outs. If you see some people that you're familiar with, definitely, I know you promoted it over on your channel. Uh,
sure.
Make sure that we give them a shout out. Cassius King, shout out to you. Uh, Tristan Fitness, absolutely shout out to you. We got the one and only, the field master, the field general himself, Rom Wills.
Ron
Peace to the
Wills,
master,
big
cousin
brother.
Tito, and the honorable Pimp God. Salute to you. We
Salute.
got known, unknown, 666. Shout out to you. Absolutely. Let's see. We miss anybody? Nope, Johnny, you didn't miss anything. You're right on time. Shout out to you. Dre 3963. All right, Johnny.
1 second. Keep going. Keep going. One
Absolutely.
second.
He's saying salute to you, Miss Lovely Rowe. Shout out to you, Lovely Rowe. Now, let's see. I like this. I like this one. Johnny Retro says Rom Wills showing up like Obi-Wan Kenobi. I appreciate that. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right. Hello again to Miss Lovely Rowe. Salute to you. So, right now, we are really getting into a second part of the conversation that PG and myself started over on the Instagram side. And that conversation had to do with when we give game, what I call tech in my space. When we give instruction, when we have a mentee, when we are coaching in terms of the men and women who come to us for stewardship in this thing that we call game, there are levels and layers that need to be presented in terms of how we go about, first of all, understanding the background of the person that we're coaching and or mentoring. And secondly, we have to understand uh, what their base of knowledge is.
Yeah.
And let me see. What would you say, just to get us started, is the average person's level of knowledge of self and or a personal philosophy?
I find that a lot of my clients who are brand new, it's like a magical number, which is 21, is like when they reach out to me, usually around 21. It could be older, but a lot of them hit me up in that 21, early 20s range. And um, they're asking the same questions that I was asking, back in the day. And that is questions along the lines of what is manhood? You know, how does a man, these are the questions I used to have. How does a man know how to be his man? How does he know how to express himself? Um, how does he know how to be himself? You know, um, um, and I remember I was talking to a guy who gave me a lot of game on things. He was white, actually. And I was asking him these questions because it was easier to talk to him than it was to talk to my dad, about
Mm.
certs, what I'm saying? Because dad, what I'm saying, it's like, you know, this when you're hungry, you want some cereal, the cereal's there, you know what I'm saying? If you want some milk, you want some burgers, you know what I'm saying? It's there, you know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody coming up in here fucking with you or your mother, so that's there. You know what I'm saying? He probably had guns strategically placed all over the house. You know what I'm saying? He was an army man. So, but when it came to like the personal questions that I had, I talked to this white guy. He was an ex teacher and a retired teacher and a track coach. And a lot of people who listen to me have heard me say this over and over again. I got this from this white good dude, where I said, "How does a man know how to be his man?
Mm.
And how does he know how to express himself?" Um, and he told me, "Your philosophy." He said, "A man's philosophy. Once you figure out what that is, that's what influences everything else that you do." You know what I'm saying? It's how how you walk. It's how you it's how you drink your coffee. It's how you drink your water. It's what water you drink. You know what I'm saying? It's your philosophy is who you associate with and who you uh, aspire to be like. You know what I mean? A man has to figure out what his personal philosophy is. And so when men when we cross paths, at that point in their life where they're trying to figure out what is it's about, what is it about, what is manhood. And I had an advantage that a lot of them didn't have, because I had an example in the house, and not just a male in the house. I had an experience where, when I was too young to be able to tell time, when I was too little, I knew that dad was on his way home or getting ready to get off of work. I didn't know what time it was, but I noticed my mother started cleaning and organizing. And I knew dad was getting ready to get off to come home. I didn't know what time it was, but just watching order in the household and watching a woman respect, what the man of the house says. You know what I'm saying? I also heard something a lot of Black men didn't hear unless it was dysfunctional. If my mother was talking a little too much, and sometimes women can, my dad, if he got agitated, he would just say, "Shut up." And that's what I heard, silence. Right? So I have complete and 100% confidence in my position. Because in truth, right, if you lead by example, right, in order to hear from what we call the Most High, guess what I have to do? If I'm going to tell her to do that, to trust my leadership, then I got to trust the God consciousness within myself. So I got to make myself sit down somewhere so that I can hear from. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I mean by the spirituality and the esoteric, bringing it into the game. You know what I'm saying? Because if without that, you just hear a woman should submit, a man is the head, all this red pill talk shit without no real understanding. You see what I'm saying? So I'm saying that on a personal level, interpersonal level, I have to recognize that within myself, right, is the same feminine principle, but on a much smaller scale. But I have to interact with that, because the admixture of my logic and my intuition is where emotional intelligence comes from.
Now, I appreciate everything you've just laid out. Let me ask you this, just as a technical question for the sake of the stream. Do you have a pair of headphones that you could attach to your phone? That way that it'll take the echo down? If not, no worries. It
Not
just
really.
it
Not
just
really.
gives a little feedback. That's all when you're
Okay.
listening to.
I
So
apologize.
don't
Yeah.
worry.
So,
Absolutely. That's a wonderful background, and I appreciate that. And I know those who are in the audience also appreciate that background, because when we talk about the qualifications of the type of man who can be a mentor, the type of
yeah.
man who can coach other men and women in this thing
Sure.
that we call game, we have to understand and recognize that pedigree matters, accomplishments matter.
Yeah.
It's weird, and we're not talking about being lettered necessarily,
No.
having, degrees and PhDs and things of that sort. The experiences, the formation of wisdom, the having gone through the maturation process. Shout out to Ron Reels. Absolutely get those likes up. All
Oh,
of those
yes.
things are qualities that are necessary to legitimize
Right.
your authority
That's right.
as a practitioner and a teacher of this thing that we call game. Shout out to
Right.
FBA Gold P7 Born saying, "Man, what's happening? Pimp God."
What's happening? Yes,
It's
sir.
the boy Gold P, Gold Professor. Salute to you.
What's
Appreciate for
up,
kicking off the
true brother?
donations for this evening. Absolutely. 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 We appreciate that very much. So,
For
so
sure. For sure.
let's get a few more shout outs here. I think I remember Andre Andre 420 from the previous stream. He said, "I learned some game from my dad. He would hang up on women who didn't say good morning or good evening." Hilarious, absolutely. Uh,
Mhm.
Once again, get those likes up. We appreciate the likes, the sharing of this stream, and subscribing. Joe Blast, shout out to Joe Blast. What's happening with you? What's happening, Joe Blast? Respect cousin T and the brother Warren. Absolutely,
Sir,
absolutely.
respect, respect.
Let's see. Let's see. Is that Philemon synonym Psi? My bad. Salute to the chat. I didn't mean to butcher your
Salute.
name, but salute to you. We appreciate you. We
Sir.
appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Now, this is a question, and definitely, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, because you know we love ladies. We absolutely have you in the chat. If you're going to be asking questions, make sure that you definitely put a Q with that. We will be answering questions shortly, but we want to get to the main theme of tonight's stream
Sure.
before we get into that. So, fortunately, PJ was so kind enough to lead in to tonight's discussion regarding men who have negative programming. And basically the sort of backdrop for this conversation has to do with how the average man has no philosophy that he can articulate. Okay.
Yes.
Now, people have, philosophies, they simply don't know, or they don't have the words or the vocabulary or language to articulate what that is. For example, let me give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
I can drill down my philosophy to basically saying my philosophy is mastery via, or ascension via mastery. Now that
Okay.
covers a lot of territory, a lot of references, and a lot of uh, sort of insights that I like to bring across. But
Sure.
it does show up and the way that I move, the way that I construct systems, and the way that I build my world. For example,
Yes.
over on my Patreon, it's a tiered system so that the
Mm-hmm.
person who doesn't know where to start has an ascension process all the
Sure.
way from, entry level, neophyte to journeyman to technician. Okay. And coming soon, we're going to have another tier that's referred to as the statesman. Okay. So basically, going through using Patreon as an example, it's an ascension process that a person has to go through in order to achieve a level of mastery, uh, in order to then start operating at a higher level. That's an example of a philosophy in action. So,
Sure.
having said that the average man has no philosophy that he can articulate,
Right.
this is said so because, in essence, most men are subject to the programming that comes from the media, the establishment, and women. Now, listen, women who are in the chat, don't worry, we're not beating up on you. We don't do that here. But just like we know, that if a man does not have
Yes.
a path to truth, if a
Yeah.
man does not have a philosophy, if a man does not have a way that he is walking, he is subject to external influence.
Right.
Because one of the things that having a philosophy does is that it equips you with an internal orientation. You
Yeah.
have a North Star that guides you on your path of mastery. You have a path that is illuminated more so with each lesson that you bring in, with each teacher that you assign yourself to, with
Right.
each bit of wisdom that you uh, bring into your library of knowledge. Your path becomes more and more set out for you. So, in tonight's discussion, we will be covering what it is to have a philosophy, how to develop it, where to get it, and ultimately how to apply that to that thing we call masculine mastery. So,
Mm.
having said that, this is an interesting first question. I
Sure.
don't know if you want to take this. I'll give you a crack at
Yeah.
it. Uh,
Whatever.
okay. Let's see. Muhammad, U.S. man. The question is how to run game. You know, he got it wrong. The first three words: how to run game on a woman with heavy duty religious, social, and cultural programming. Let me clarify first of all. Before, right, think about that, PG. I'm gonna holler at the first three words, Muhammad. Respectfully, men don't run game. Okay, we apply it. Okay, we apply the philosophical curriculum that is game. So I understand what the thrust of your question is, but I would just reword it next time to be presented as that. Because running game means that you're looking to manipulate someone or that you're looking for a mark. Okay, we apply game. All right. So let me reword it. How does a man apply game with a woman who is really religious and subject to social and cultural programming? How about that?
Okay. First off, there's a phrase in higher esoteric knowledge that says, when the student knocks, the teacher will appear. So if you have game or knowledge, because sometimes these words are used interchangeably for a female, is she already in pursuit of um, deeper understanding? Because ultimately, understanding, eventually leads to agreements, right? So if I am a student and I seek knowledge from a teacher, if I have the right teacher, right, then the student and the teacher are the same. Meaning the student is me earlier in my evolution, and I'm the student later in its understanding, right? A lot of times we're trying to give knowledge to females that's not in pursuit of higher understanding. You see what I'm saying? Um, Sometimes, in fact, a lot of times for myself, I have crossed paths with a female who was coming out of a religious base, right? And I remember the first lesson I taught this chick. Uh, we were having a conversation, and I said, such and such is occult knowledge, and she said, "Oh no, that's evil."
Mm.
And then I said, and I used the name that she understands. I said, Jesus studied the occult. And she said, "Oh
Mm.
no, 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 no." It was and so she said, "Wait a minute." So she went back into her apartment and she came out with a stack. It was a stack of, she had a dictionary, she had a concordance,
Hmm.
the Bible, other references, you know what I'm saying? And so of all of those books, I said, let's start with one. I said, pull that Webster's dictionary out of that. And she pulled it out. And I said, look up the word occult. And remember what I said it meant. It just means hidden or secret. And she looked it up and I said, read it out loud. And she read it. And then she was like, and then I used scripture on it. I said, do you remember the scripture when Jesus said to his disciples, it is given unto you to know the mysteries, but to the masses it's not given?
Mm.
Right? And so, boom, then that kind of opened her up to other concepts and other things. But you have to make sure that the person that you want to give this game to is already searching for it, right? Don't give your advice to people that don't ask. and be the light in your life existentially, meaning you live it, right? Philosophy is something that you live. It's not just something that you articulate. Because you talked about articulating your philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but if you don't live it, Tahuti said knowledge without use is a vain and foolish thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if the person can see your life, right, what we sometimes call light, then that light is what will draw them to your philosophy or your understanding or that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But religious people have to become tired of the cycle
Mm-hmm. The cycle, yes.
that they're in. And when they get tired of that cycle, they're like, okay, I'm dizzy as fuck. Let me get off of this motherfucker. And it's got to be something else. Until they're searching for that, right? Then, no, then, and here's the thing, too, people have a right to be wrong. They have a right. They have the free will to, some people will choose a certain way because that's the way that it's always been taught to them. That's the way that everyone in their family, followed or whatever the case may be. So um just to make sure that the person is open um to what you have to give them first, right? Because otherwise you just cast, the Bible says don't cast your pearls before swine. In other
Indeed.
words, you don't give your game to someone that's not seeking it. Now, another piece I want to add is esoterically, there was a lesson that I learned between teacher and student. It's three laws with respect to teacher and student. The first law is this: he who needs knowledge must seek it. That's the first law, right? Um, and based on that law, that's how you know who to divulge game to.
Mm.
He who needs knowledge must seek it. If they're not seeking it, then maybe it's not maybe it's not time for them to, you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So let people see the fruit of your philosophy in your life and let that do the talking. You know what I'm
Indeed.
saying? Yeah, that's my
Indeed.
thought.
Excellent. And thank you for taking it to that level. Now to uh put a bow on Muhammad's question, the first thing that I would respond to you
Mhm.
is with, what is your goal? What is your intent with the woman? Okay. Because part of game is strategy. And the strategy comes in terms of achieving that which you are setting out to achieve. That's why it's important to have that North Star. What is it that you want with this woman? Do you want a relationship? Do you want to have sex? Do you want to show her a good time? Do you want to provide a lifestyle? What is it that you're looking to achieve? Because without that in mind, you're not going to achieve anything. Do you want to just be in the person's presence? Do you want to entertain her? You need to be clear with what your objective is. Okay, so think about that, and I'll come back later with that. Thank you for that question. Let's holler at this one right here. We appreciate that. Anything over 20. Yes, indeed. You get hit with the ASP Holy Ghost. Shout out to None Unknown. Says coming up, it was about 20 boys of us at the b-ball court after school. Out of 20, two had fathers in the house, or at least had males in the house. All of us were black as well. Interesting, interesting. It
Big shit.
so in order to, well, thank you for that relaying that to us in terms of the relatability of that statement to what we're discussing here. I would have to ask a little bit more background information in terms of, where were you? What region of, Are you in North America? Are you in inner city? Were you in a rural area? Because I can go further. Who was the coach of basketball? Did you have any programs where there were masculine leaders who were involved? So that's where I would go with that statement that you presented. But once again, thank you for the dub. We appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to Dre. Yes, indeed, the legendary Pimp God. Let's go for it. Let's see. Um, Johnny, men who have programming, what your mama should have prevented, which is interesting. Now, I'm gonna land on this for just a sec.
Okay.
PG, what do you think about this? Where they said, what your mama should have prevented. Can a woman raise a man? Can a woman raise a boy into manhood? So, with this statement right here, what your mama should have prevented, is it possible that a woman can prevent all of this external influence that leads to a man's negative programming?
Yes, she can. And here's how. If her ability to choose is on point, then the man that she chose to procreate with is already in position.
Mm-hmm.
That's my answer.
And
Right? Because where's the boy supposed to learn and get the tools for man from
right.
other than a man who uses them every day, right? A strong black woman, as it is represented in modern day society, is a beta female
Mm,
because
I see where you're going.
when you look at the yin and yang principle, you're looking at opposites. Opposites. So what's alpha over here couldn't be alpha over here if they're opposites.
Correct.
Duh. Alpha for each one of them is alpha within their gender, within their essence, and within their nature. So if esoterically yin is passive and yang is active, right? Then if yin is darkness and yang is light, every single attribute of the masculine principle has an opposite. Can you say antonym? And
Mhm.
each one of those, right, are in the opposite gender. How could they be the same? Stop it. Stop it. Alpha for a man, right, is displayed by the fact that number one, he has testosterone, right? Yang is represented by the active principle, right? When it comes to procreation, right, the creative force is from the masculine. The feminine principle is procreative. And if you're a little confused or fuzzy on those definitions, then I'll say to you as well, get your Webster's and we'll start there. We'll have to get to deeper stuff. Let's just start with Webster's, right? So the active principle comes from the masculine. The feminine principle is the passive and the procreative. You see what I'm saying? The inactive. Yin is actually described as inactive. You see what I'm saying? So alpha females, which is what my mother was,
Mm,
is a feminine female.
right.
Because the essence of femininity is a word that modern day women hate today. It's called submission. The essence of femininity is submission, which really just means trust. Now, should a woman trust a dude just because he has a swinging penis? No, right? Um, all the same, should a woman trust her own inclinations towards choosing men? Hell no. Because What a woman often chooses in a man, right, is actually, so we get some other stuff, is actually motivated by her body and not her mind. So now you got a mind, right? And then you got a body, and they like two horses going in separate directions. So on a panel, a woman will say all of the attributes of the perfect man and the, masculinity and manhood. But then when you look at her dating history, you see the opposite because her body is making those choices. And a lot of women don't understand themselves in that respect. You see what I'm saying? So philosophy, right, is oftentimes only theology because philosophy is something that you encumber. Philosophy is something that is active in your life, right? Otherwise, they call it philosophizing, or when you just sit down and you say, oh, yes, and this and that. And, I'm a God fearing woman and first giving honor to God, who is the head of my life, where we heard that before.
Lip
You know,
service.
yeah, exactly. So I'm saying, okay, but ultimately, can a woman, right, um, lead a man into manhood? Not herself. But if her choosing ability is on point, and if she has the wisdom to get out of the way when he's implementing those things, because sometimes those things are going to be unpleasant, because he got to prepare this boy for the Zimmermans of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And mommy, you can't prepare me for that. You couldn't protect Trayvon, and you can't protect me. So I got to prepare him for that. I got to teach him how to be still, right? When the popo, some of which are racist immigrants, can I keep it a stack, are
Uh-oh.
really looking for the black male, the young black male that only had women around. Why? Because he's going to be all in his feels. Man, fuck that, man. Look, I'm tired of this shit. And they just looking for a reason to gun him down anyway. Let me give you an example, and I'll be short.
Go for it.
I'm on the train in Cleveland. The transit police come on, and they go to both ends of the train, and then they work their way to the center, asking everyone on the train if they have their fare card. Because in Cleveland, it's almost like a setup. They let you ride the trains and the buses without a fare, just so that they could just arbitrarily just see who's riding without,
Mm.
without their card that day. But they'll just let you ride. It's but then you see people getting arrested, blah blah blah. So they get on the train and they go from one end of the train to the next, and then they go to the next train and they do the same thing. One take one end, the other takes the other end, and they work their way to the middle. So I'm like, say towards the middle. But I had a dad that would kill your ass over his wife and his son.
Mm-hmm.
And my father was still, and he was a quiet man. Them the ones you got to be careful of. All this loud talking, knocking buses on their bed. Anyway, so they get my card. When they get to me, I give it to him. Boom. He goes to the next, blah, blah, blah. Then when they get done, the cop, right? Here's the aisle, and here's me seated. He decided to stand so close to my body that his legs was touching my arm on the armrest.
Hmm.
Why are you damn near leaning into to the seat after y'all have already checked everybody's stuff? I already gave you mine. You seen I'm good. Why are you standing this close to me?
Mm-hmm.
You're into my personal space. So I didn't do a young thug. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, dog. Hey, cuz. Hey, cuz. Hey, homie. I didn't do that. You know what I did? and moved him over very, very calmly without even looking at him. I just moved him over to about where my sphere should have ended.
Mm-hmm.
And he was looking down like, but I didn't do it hard. I didn't do it crazy. I just moved him over. Right. And then what he felt behind that was manhood.
Mm-hmm.
And he ain't say shit. Because he knew he was wrong to begin with. You know what I'm saying? And it is what it's not extracurricular. It's not, you know what I'm saying? And if you're getting arrested, or something, just be cool. You know what I'm saying? Just chill, because if you're in your see, when a man is expressing emotion, he does it through aggression and doesn't realize that you're being emotional. Like, guess who? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So in my house, it was quiet. It was peaceful. You see what I'm saying? It was never a lot of loud noise and a lot of extracurricular stuff going on. You know what I'm saying? So it was balanced. And that's why I'm so balanced on an interpersonal level. You know what I mean? And a male needs to see within the nest, right, a father figure that the women in that nest also respect.
Correct.
That's what validates his pursuit of manhood. Because if the women in the nest don't respect masculinity, right, then why would he aspire to be something that don't none of the women respect? Right? And unfortunately, in our community, a lot of these single parent households, they actually support this
Watch out there.
a little bit more than masculinity. You see what I'm saying? Because who did he see in the household that mama had to acquiesce to? I'm not talking about the types of dudes that she liked that abused her. She might have tried to listen to them, but that was because they were supplying her with something else that she needed. You see what I'm saying? On an interpersonal level, that wasn't holistic.
Indeed.
But you know, but those are my thoughts. You
Fair
know.
enough. No, so I agree that if a woman is going to look to successfully raise a boy into manhood, she needs to be wise enough or discerning enough to bring men into that teaching space if the original dad is no longer there or available. I agree with that 100%. Shout out to Star Prime Logic. We appreciate that, fan. Appreciate the fan. Thank you so much. Keep it going. Star Prime Logic says, Pimp God is in the building. Let me grab my pen and paper and sit my ass down. Yes, indeed. How about we
Much
do that?
love, fam.
How
Thank
about
you.
we do that? So, to continue forward with this particular discussion about the negative programming that the
Yes.
average man has is inculcated with is under the spell of or however we wish to present it. Part of our job or our responsibilities or our callings, there we say, as coaches, mentors, and teachers, is to challenge our students, to challenge our mentees, to challenge the
Right.
people who we are to assist in their development with. And part of how we challenge our students is by asking the question, do you know how your mind works? Right? Do you know how you think? Now most people, or the average person, I'm just keep saying the average person, doesn't even know how they think, let alone how to think.
Mm-hmm.
It's popular thought that
Mm-hmm.
going to school, going to university, and getting a degree certifies or states that you have learned how to think. But
Yes.
what they don't say is you've learned how to think like who, and or you've learned how to think like who wants you to think. right?
Mm-hmm.
And I find that this comes up often in coaching sessions because, like I said, have had the privilege of coaching men and women from all over the world. Okay, I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about various states within the United States, the UK, Eastern Europe, on the continent, South America, and various different classes. So,
Mm-hmm.
with that variety of backgrounds, when you ask a person, what what is your society like? Because when we're in coaching sessions, the person has stated what they desire. I desire to be better at getting women. I want to be able to talk to women. I want to be able to be engaging. I want to be able to have a conversation.
Right.
And one of the things that ultimately has to come up is, who are you? Do you know who you are? And this is not one of those, throwaway questions, because if you don't know who you are, you don't have a basis for the conversation that you're hoping to have with the type of woman that you desire,
Mm-hmm.
because you can't be engaging if you haven't tapped into that your essence.
Yes.
And you can't get too far. Now, you can get the introduction if you present well, meaning that your clothes are on point, you smell
Yeah.
good,
Yeah.
you've
Yeah.
showered, you you've obviously hollered at Pimp God and cousin Tita for the fragrance game to keep that on point, right?
Right.
All of that can only take you so far.
Mm-hmm.
If you are incapable of reaching into your internal fortitude, your interworkings, and be able to communicate what that is made of in a way that connects you and your desire to that woman and her attraction,
Mm-hmm.
then you're not necessarily going to be successful at achieving your goal, that goal of making a connection, that goal of exchanging orgasms, that goal of pursuing the type of relationship that is able to flourish into social mobility, into community
Mm-hmm.
building, into all of these other steps, without first understanding who you are. And now that comes back to why we ask a man, what is your philosophy? And it's interesting because for those who have just arrived and are just joining us, welcome in, hit the like button and share on your way in. Pimp God so graciously um, broke down his credentials. He broke down his background in terms of his studies, his interests, and uh, the sort of building blocks that make the components of his curriculum, of his
Mm-hmm.
syllabus, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what has allowed him to produce so much media in terms of books, audiobooks, and allows him to have a structure
Yeah.
when he is mentoring, presenting, and coaching men and women who desire a an outcome. And I know
Right.
how I know how PG feels about that word desire, but in this context, I'm
No,
using
no,
it
no, it's
as
okay.
search. Okay,
Sure.
for those who
Sure.
are searching for an outcome. And
Mhm.
what's interesting is that a lot of coaches who would present as I would say game coaches or lifestyle coaches. Myself, I am right a seduction coach, because that is the entry point for me in terms of
Right.
where I start a man on his path of mastery. You see,
Okay.
I use my background in seduction
Mhm.
as a point of entry to then say, okay, we've got your grooming, we've got your presentation, we've got you standing up straight when you approach the type of women that you are attracted to, and now let's understand, open up, and unpack who you truly are at your core. And I got to tell you, a lot of my background has to do with deep philosophy. You
Yeah.
mentioned the esoteric nature of certain research, certainly the
Yeah.
occult.
Sure.
I'm going to tell you, uh, in a previous conversation and in other conversations that we've had, we talked about how when a man meets a, compatible woman,
Yeah.
a man meets the type of woman who becomes his reflection.
Mm-hmm.
He is essentially staring into a mirror. Now,
Yes.
that is at a certain level of this thing we call game.
Mm-hmm.
I like to identify higher levels of game.
Okay.
So we have the elementary level, we have the intermediate level, we have the
Mm-hmm.
advanced level.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I like to address the philosophical nature of oneself and
Okay.
how they navigate this world, how they build their worlds. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I am having a conversation with a coaching client and he wants to further develop his ability to navigate social spaces, to do better within his trade or his career or his vocation, to do better with communicating with his family and with connecting with his family, connecting better with the type of friends and assembling the type of friends group that allows him that allow them to um, ascend within social spaces and things of that nature to better
Sure.
understand what religion is. Now I can recommend certain readings. Now I
Mm-hmm.
can really pinpoint on the most valuable lessons that a man can undertake. And
Yes.
before a man can really present himself to the world, he has to understand who he is, including his background. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
once you understand your background, so let me give an example of this. So
Okay.
I'll just use a South American client who was from Cuba, or
Okay.
not Cuba. I'm sorry, Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Colombia is a fun place. It's also very diverse and very dynamic and has a rich cultural legacy.
Mm-hmm.
I asked the client, okay, name three Colombian philosophers. Name three Colombian artists, either modern or classic.
Mm-hmm.
Name, the most popular Colombian musicians, right? Are there are there folk musicians? And I ask these questions um, because if you're trying to learn who you are, you have to learn who your people are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and by learning these elements of your history and your people's history, you
Mm-hmm.
become, first of all, people go on this search and they never realized that there was so much richness in their own background.
Right.
They never realized that, hey, I'll use myself as an example. Okay, I consider myself to be FBA. Okay, foundational Black American. There's
Yeah.
so much rich history, and I can't ask someone from the Caribbean, okay, give me three Caribbean philosophers, give me three, you know what I'm saying, three
Mm-hmm.
Caribbean fine arts producers, unless I know, uh, you know, Baldwin, unless
Mm-hmm.
I'm familiar with Tommy Curry, unless I'm familiar with modern artists, and Harlem Renaissance artists. If I
Sure.
can't present that from my own background, I can't ask that of a student.
Yeah.
So going back to what you said about the student is the teacher, or the teacher is often the student,
You're right.
no truer words were ever spoken. But
Mm.
what this starts to develop in a man and in women, in a person, in a student,
Yeah.
is a sense of knowing,
Yeah.
okay? Because you have the greater self, right?
Right.
That's on a different plane in a different realm.
Mm-hmm.
However, you are alive. You have a
Yeah. Yeah,
material
you are.
you have a material presence as well,
Yes, you
okay?
do.
And you
Yes, you do.
descended from somewhere, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you exist within a greater society. And depending on where you are looking to apply this thing we call game, you have to have a deeper awareness of who you are, like I always said. But an interesting thing happens. Once they
Mm,
actually start to
yeah,
discover these histories, these cultural elements, and these
yeah.
and get a better understanding of who they are, the mirror goes beyond just their mate. The mirror extends into other studies. So
Hmm.
let me give you a few examples here.
Okay.
Okay. So I don't know if you're familiar with the Sadhguru. Of course, you're familiar with the
Yeah,
Sadhguru.
yeah.
He's got a book called Mystic Musings. Okay, now this is a higher level, like an advanced level book that
Hmm.
mystics themselves read. Okay, and
Hmm.
inside of it, it's a question and answer from the various seminars that he's presented in various countries. Okay,
Okay.
so what I discovered in here is, and I'm just giving you one example. Okay, I'll show you some
Sure.
other examples of how the mirror starts to expand beyond
Yes.
just another person. Okay,
That's right.
he gives an example of how when they build they a temple for meditation. Okay, a meditation center.
Sure.
They build a small temple down the road away
Mm.
from the main temple.
Okay.
This is so that the disembodied entities, okay, people call them different things depending on what region of the world they're from. Those disembodied entities will be attracted to the smaller temple so that when they're practicing their yoga, the high level yoga in the main temple, those spirits won't interfere with what
Sure.
they're doing.
Sure.
Powerful stuff, right?
Hmm.
When I read that, it was like reading into a mirror, because if you're familiar with the hoodoo tradition here in the
Hmm.
United States,
Hmm.
we collect the blue bottles. You know about the blue bottles?
I'm not hip to the blue. What do you mean
All
by
right.
no?
So we create, those who are hoodoo practitioners create uh, trees, small trees from blue bottles.
Okay.
Okay. And the purpose of those small trees, and we keep them in the backyard outside of the house. And the
Okay.
purpose for these small trees is to collect those unwanted spirits.
Okay. There you
So a
go.
practice that's being done all the way on the other side of the planet
Hmm.
mirrors something that we do locally here. Okay,
Hmm. There you
and
go.
the more you start to study yourself, study your culture, study your people, the
Yes.
more you start to see bigger mirrors
Yeah.
out in the world, and
Hmm.
the more these experiences that you're looking to have through that thing we call game starts starts to be more vibrant, starts to be more
Yes.
interesting, starts to be um, more fulfilling. And that's really
Hmm.
what this is all about.
That's
Discovering
right.
how to have the fulfillment in your life while you're here, how
Yeah.
to make yourself happy without having to look for external factors to make yourself happy, but most importantly,
Mhm.
how to establish your philosophy and the ways in which you live your life. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So right now we're going to skip down. Definitely
Yes.
keep submitting questions. We're going to get to the questions, but right now we want to showcase this particular sawbuck. We call this a sawbuck in Chicago. Salute to you, Mr. Evans. Salute to you for the sawbuck.
Awesome.
Very much so. He says, shout out to you both. Question: any tips on confidence for shorter men? It's a great question. I'll pass that to you first because I've already got answers for that. But have you encountered that question before? What advice do you have for shorter men?
Um, First thing that comes to mind is if you're in a dark room, right, and you want to have an effect on the darkness, you have to cut on the light, right? But before there was a light switch, right? Um, you could also use, a match, right? Or, like back, of course, back in the day, they would do the sticks and create the fire. But the point is, if you got a flame, right, on um, a lighter, right, when you in this on that big lighter or whatever, if you've got it on that wooden stick at the end where you turn the bottle over, and you light it, that flame, um, whatever medium that the flame is on is not as important as the size of the flame itself. Because if it's on a lighter, because they got those little lighters too, that's like half the size. You ever seen those before? Like they got the
Mhm,
regular lighters, and I've seen they got the smaller ones. But
mhm.
they got a dial on the smaller ones where you could turn it up and down too, like the flame could be. So it doesn't make a difference what size the flame is coming from. What do I mean by flame? Your light in this world as a man, because you're yang, and yang is represented by light. That's what yang is. It's the light. When people look at a yin and yang symbol, right, they think that they're looking at white and black. No, you're looking at light and darkness, right? So just focus on the growth of your light, because when you enter that room, right, you illumine and remove the darkness based upon the power of your light. Now, what do I mean by light? Self-image is the way that a man sees himself and the ideas that he has about his capabilities. That's your light. And the more that you define that, right, as a greater or better version of oneself, right? Then, in other words, if there's a certain class level that you want to reach or a certain income level, right? Here's the level that you want to reach, right? And here's what has to happen. You have to become someone that level is attracted to. This is the law of attraction. It's not, oh, I think it, therefore it comes to me. No, you have to match its vibration in the way that you see yourself and the thoughts and ideas that you have about your personal capability. By raising that vibration, you become a magnet for that income level, that lifestyle, that type of circle of associates or women, or whatever the case may be. So just focus on your self-image, that it is matching the next level of goals that you want to reach. If you look at your goals as tiers, with each tier that you want to reach, whatever your next goal is, um, let's say you made 75,000 last year, and now you want to be in that 100,000 range, and then take it higher, or whatever the case may be. Um, in your self-image, the way that you see yourself, the image, the picture that you have of yourself. Iceberg Slim said, think of the mind as a movie screen. Just like when you go to the movies before the movie starts. You walk in, all the lights are on, and there's just a blank white screen. That blank white screen represents mind. Okay. In addition to your philosophy, because we're talking about philosophy, which a lot of people don't have a particular philosophy that they can uh, uh, verbalize. You should have a self image. If I said to you in the movie screen and I attached some things to you, and I said, whatever you think about is going to show up on this movie screen as an image. And then I said to you, now show me the image of the better version of yourself that your next level matches. Could you do it? Do you have an idea of what that looks like? What does the next level look like for you? You need to have an idea of what that is, because the lifestyle, right, that you want to attract to you has to be attracted to you. It's not just I want that, but does it want you? You see what I'm saying? Like in the movie Money Never Sleeps, Michael Douglas said, money, excuse what I'm saying, this is what they said in the movie. Money's a bitch that never sleeps, he said. He said, and she's jealous. He said, if you don't keep attention on her, on your own money, then she'll be gone, and she might be gone forever. You see what I'm saying? This is one of the reasons why um, when I have extra money in my business account, just floating around, I don't leave thousands in the bank because, I like looking at it. I dump it. I don't trust the bank system. I dump it and I buy silver or gold. Why? Because money is meant to do this. It's not happy unless it's working. It's not happy unless it's moving, right? And so if it's just sitting in the bank, right, then it's just like burying it. That you know, a bank will let a man borrow way more than they'll ever give you in interest on your savings, right? So what is savings to a bank? It's a liability. That's why they don't hardly give you anything on it. If you just sit your money in a bank and I'm a bank, and now I got to pay you all this interest, 10, 20% on your money, that's a liability to me. I got to find some people to loan it to at an interest so that, I can make, and so that's what I'm saying. And so, you know, um, you have to see yourself in a certain light that matches the next level that you want to reach. Because somebody could say monetarily what they would like to do. Let's say you want to hit your first 500,000. Okay, there are certain characters, uh, people, philosophies, mindsets that can be quantified into an image, right? Find that image. Maybe you need to get a subscription. I have a subscription. It's not, I don't have it right here with me. To the Robb Report. It's called the Robb Report, ROBB Report. And it's like a magazine for wealthy people, and it deals with like wealthy things and what have you, new technology, art, just all of the aspects of life, architecture, interior design, you know, uh, vehicles, just everything, right? Aircraft, aviation, private jets, all the things, right? Um, and so you got to find an image that matches, right, your next level or the better version of you. Then you got to figure out, right, how does that person think? What will his philosophy be? Study the image. How does he feel? What's his what is the thing that he says to himself at night before he goes to bed? Here's an idea. Download. Um, there is an AI app called Claude. Claude. Everybody knows about Chat GPT. Download Claude, study the image that you choose that represents sort of like that next level for yourself. And then describe to Claude all the different characteristics of this person, right? That you could think of, right? He likes to smoke cigars, this, that, all of the different things that sort of come to mind. What kind of women does he date? Put all those things in a description in that app, right? And then ask Claude to to from that information map out a day in the life of him. It'll blow your mind how that app will take that and map out a whole day, and it's borrowing bits and pieces of all of the information that you gave it, ultimately creating sort of like a character, um, uh, ultimately a philosophy that might be brewing in all of those ideas that you didn't even piece together. That app will sort of help you to piece it together when you look at what a day in the life of the better version of you is. It's called Claude. You see what I'm saying? And so my point is, when you focus from the inside out, the law of correspondence, here we go with the higher esoteric stuff, says as above, so below, but it also says as within, so without. The way that you see yourself and the ideas that you have about your capabilities is your light. And the more that you get connected to it, right, in thought, mood, and feeling, here's the feeling part. Meditate, practice time being that dude. Imagine he goes to get some gas in this nice car that's in this magazine, and just practice what it would feel like. Just his moment. He goes, stops, getting some Starbucks, on the way. Then on the way there, I'm saying, at the light, there's this baddie, I'm sitting, and that's next to him in the next lane with the top down. You see, don't talk to her in your imagination as you. Talk to her as him, with his swag, with his confidence. You see what I'm saying? That's your light. Listen to what I'm saying to you. When you enter a space, you communicate DNA to DNA. You communicate neurologically, right? But you have to have a light. You have to have something that is defined, right? When you walk into that room, right, your light walks in before you. Your energy is listen, females are energy beings. It's not size. They're energy beings. So how do you attract a woman? Not with size. You attract her with energy. See, that takes the focus away from your stature, right? And your light is energy. The way that you see yourself, once you get it down, communicates to everyone in a room when you enter that room. So just focus on building from the inside out a solid self-image, right? And the ideas that you have about your capabilities, and like a good actor, practice being that character until your body sort of gets used to feeling that way, right? And then carry that energy into your day. You will see a change in how people react or respond to you, because you're changing your frequency. Most people are not shining from the inside out because they're too busy considering what somebody else is doing, saying, and thinking. Here's another thought. When you start to elevate your own self-image, sometimes the people like mom or people that have known you will start acting like, oh, you know who you think you are. Like, if you start doing certain things differently, you start working out more, you start drinking, what I'm saying, a different kind of water. Or Warren bougie, he only drink out of glass. Yeah, yeah, I'm bougie and I'm a fucker. Yeah. Yeah, I got a catch. I just got a case today. You know what I'm saying? You dig. Just a case today. and I got two empty cases sitting here. The Bella Bliss said that to me one time. She said, you a snob. And I'm like, okay, so tell me how I'm a snob. She said, you only drink out of this. And she went down the list. But I'm like, that just sounds like a high level man to me, what you just described. You know what I'm saying? But, but my point is, even people that you consider yourself cool with, they're going to pick up on the DNA communication of your DNA and neurology as you start to elevate, right? And don't be surprised if chicks that you're used to attracting, right, become less attracted to a higher version of you. But also pay attention to maybe higher classes of chicks that's actually paying more attention to you. You see what I'm saying? So it's all about vibration. Your light, as I define, starts with your self image, the way that you think, your moods, your feelings, and the ideas that you have about your capabilities. Just make sure that that's on point because women are energy beings more than they're physical beings.
Yes,
So
indeed.
you have to manipulate like a dial or on the radio. Just manipulate your energy, and that's the true point of attraction. It's not size; it's light.
Absolutely. Salute to that. Very in depth response. Mr. Evans, you just got a full consultation right there. Now, my my thing is, honestly, definitely play that play this part of the conversation back so that you can have a deeper understanding and really go into what PG just laid out for you. My thing is this: at the elementary level of game, I would have
Yeah.
to ask you, when you say any tips on confidence for shorter men. Now, PG just laid out confidence over a spectrum of areas. My thing is I like to get right to it. Are you talking about confidence with women, confidence with your work, confidence among other men? Uh, I would love to get more specifics about what you're talking about, or just overall confidence, because PG just absolutely laid out the blueprint for a methodical, sorry, approach to expanding your confidence across a spectrum of areas. I'm going to give you this example really quickly. I'm 6 feet tall. I know PG is 6'3".
Yeah.
Um, I have dated a former, let me be clear, before we put that on the internet, I've dated a former WNBA player, okay? And she was definitely taller than me. She was about like 6'3", okay? 6'2" or 6'3".
Yeah.
So she would look down at me. So when I was dating her, she was a flight attendant with a private jet company. But
Hmm.
she would insist on wearing heels. Okay.
Of
So
course.
6'3" plus whatever. And I was loving it. I was loving it. That didn't
Yes.
intimidate me at all. Okay. Because I would
Yes.
fold her in all types of ways. Also keep in mind this, men in other countries and regions, they love being seen with taller women. Men in France, they love being seen with taller women.
Hmm.
Latin men in South America
Keep
or in
going. Keep
Spain,
going.
they love being seen with women who are taller than them. It's actually a badge of honor, to be able to be seen next to a woman who's got legs, who's got all of these different, attributes of a statuesque woman. So just
Sure.
keep that in mind when you're thinking about, having the confidence, despite whatever your stature may be. There's always going to be taller people. Okay, go to
Yeah.
Sudan. Okay, those women touch 7 feet. So I just say that to say that that's something that all of us, no matter what our height uh, may be, encounter. The difference is how we respond to it, how we approach it, how we present ourselves in spite of whatever that that diverse sort of presentation is from the type of women that we desire to acquire. So salute to you once again for that sawbuck. Let's get this one really quickly. Joe Blast, shout out to you, Joe Blast. Question: how do brothers feel a man can attain that stillness if that wasn't his reality. Uh, I'll, I'll shoot this one first.
Good.
What I've learned is over time the value of meditation, the value of going in, the value of sitting in the darkness. Okay, and we can say darkness metaphorically and literally. Okay, the stillness of not having distractions, all of these electronic devices that we have in a modern uh, era that we live in,
Yeah.
actually taking time to power those down and not even having them in the same room as you. When I go to bed, the Wi-Fi goes off. I do not sleep with cell phones in my room. Okay, and I in my place, the place that I have what's called a dark room, not for developing film, but when I meditate, because when I meditate, I'm going to different realms. Okay, but just to have a complete space of darkness, I have one room dedicated where the windows are covered and the doors, are covered with curtains are draped over, so that I am in complete darkness, so that it brings a stillness and a quietness
That's right.
that allows me to sit with truth. Okay, because the further you go in your philosophical discoveries, you understand that truth doesn't exist in dissonance, meaning,
No. Yeah.
chaos. Truth sits in resonance, meaning when frequencies align. Okay, so that would be my quick answer for that. How does a man attain that stillness if he was not uh let's see, brought up in that environment as his reality?
Hmm.
So let's see. Of course, every man has a code. Oh, Rob, you already know. You already know how it is. We definitely have to go uh deeper. This is a good one right here before we move on. Okay. This is mile zero
Hold
to
on.
yeah,
I want to get this to you before you bring another one up too.
absolutely. Referring to the last one or
Yes, on the last one.
okay.
Um, I don't know where this brother lives, but when the weather breaks, um, spend some time by the lake or the ocean or wherever, like where people go when, near the water, where they have like the big rocks by the water, and people just kind of go to the lake or to the whatever to just chill. And you know how they got the walkways and all that kind of stuff. Um, Spend some time by the water by yourself. Find a nice big rock, because they got all the big rocks sitting on top of each other by the water, and just sit there by yourself and understand that mind elementally is water, right? We know that earth is the body. We know that breath is the wind, right? We know that the soul is fire and mind is water. That's your four elements. So go by the water and sit by the water by yourself. Don't, no headphones, no nothing, and just sit. Find a quiet rock by yourself off in the cut, and just sit comfortably, and just breathe with your eyes closed. Just like just chilling, and control your breath, and just be sort of like one with that moment. Also understand this esoterically. Just like the water can be calm, it can become turbulent too, right? And a lot of times people, they keep music and sound and on the phone and watching television. All this noise is going on because they're avoiding the chaos inside of their mind, the turbulence of the water in their consciousness. So spend some time by the water, right? And just, as you hear the shore, as it hits the shore, or just different things like that. And in the winter time, since it's winter, at least in DC, um, then find on YouTube um, a video of water near the shore, like a live, not live, but actual water, sounds by the shore, and put it on quietly enough so that it doesn't disturb your rest, right? And as you drift off to sleep, just focus on sitting, actually imagining yourself on a big rock by the water as you drift off to sleep. This will probably also, because of that water, the symbology of that, it'll probably open you up to certain dreams and things of that nature that's actually communication from higher aspects. But, we won't get that. We won't go too deep on that. But that's
Yes,
my
indeed.
suggestion on that.
Yes, indeed. Certainly, a great step-by-step way to get into a practice that aligns, you know, your inner being and your um, ultimate being. So
Yeah.
that kind of dovetails with this particular question right here.
Okay.
Mile Zero says, "What does it mean to know who you are?" It sounds like you both are not just talking about having a philosophy or what you'll not tolerate. So I'll start this by saying, I'll ask you to hold in your mind's eye the thought that you are a human. Okay. What does that mean? What does that mean when you say, I am a human? Okay. Hold that thought. You think about uh, your mind, you think about your body, your fingers, your toes, the aspects of your physical presence, right? Now, when I say I am a God, okay, it's just like you saying that you are a human, okay? The knowing who you are transcends just the vessel that your essence exists within at a given point, okay? So the human is a vessel, all right? So the godship is a title, just like human is a title. It's an association or classification. Okay. Once you come into a greater knowledge of that which is beyond the human, then you have an expanded view of who you are. Okay. Um, so besides, when we're going, I just brought a laundry list of different philosophical works here. There's this book called Scary Smart. I've referenced it before. This is written by Mo Godot. He's a former chief business officer at Google. And in this book, he talks about consciousness within machines. Okay. So if you think about the vessel being what carries the essence of who or what you are, in this particular book, there's a deep dive into what technologists believe uh, to be a new species that's evolving right before our eyes. Pimp God mentioned Claude earlier. Okay, that's a language model. And so now the technologists are combining those language models or artificial intelligence with machines. So you've got a
Mm,
mind and a body. Okay.
mm,
And so one of the wonderful things that Mo Guadot references in this particular book was another great book that I got into because he talks about how in this book we as humans are influencing how the AI or the models are learning through our
mm,
behaviors, through what we
yeah.
post, through what we search. When you look for, Who am I? How do I understand, the significance of my culture? How do I understand different, sides of the political aisle? How do I understand the economy? These models are learning about your humanity, what makes you tick, your sort of blind spots, and all of these things. But one of the things that Mo Godot referenced in this book, Scary Smart, was humanity's potential for recklessness, for chaos, for going back to the title of this discussion, for negative programming. And he
Yeah.
referenced the book of another mystic. And at this, and I, like I said, I approach life with the curiosity of a child. I did not know that um, holy mothers in the Catholic tradition and the fathers or the priests are referred to as, well, the high level ones, okay, the cardinals and the bishops are referred to as mystics. So
Mm,
in this book about AI, Mogodot references this book about the Mother Teresa, okay? And this basically is a book of the letters that she wrote during her missions, okay? For those who may not know, the Mother Teresa is or was a Catholic mother who attained to sainthood. And throughout her lifetime, she was brought in to negotiate hostage situations when entire
mm,
schools of children were kidnapped. Okay, where human trafficking situations would happen, where war would happen. She she was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize at one point. But in this book, these are letters that she did not want published because in these letters she spoke about the darkness. Okay, and this book, it's revealed that in some of those situations where she saw the ugliness and the negativity of that humanity is capable of
yeah.
producing, she felt disconnected to the point where she said there's some places in this world where God does not exist.
Mm,
Now, for you to get a saint, a Catholic saint, to write in her personal letters that there are spaces in the human experience where humans treat each other so bad, so negatively, so destructively that she could not even see God in those spaces. Now, I won't spoil this book, but I'm just referencing it as another point. There was a reference in this book that mirrors a book that James Baldwin wrote. And that book is called The Fire Next Time. Okay. Definitely go read that. So that's a FBA philosopher here. In her book, she referenced what I refer to as the key to absolute truth. Now, we
mm,
won't go into that now. And this is tying into your question. Okay. Know who you are. I'm taking you on this journey. Okay. Absolute truth is the communion of kindred spirits. Okay. Very simple. Very simple. I know it's supposed to be this whole, like, uh, uh, deeply philosophical, high level. You're going to use these $5 words. Nope, nope, nope. Very simple. The key to the absolute is the communion of kindred spirits. And that's another point that was referenced by James Baldwin in his book, The Fire Next Time.
mm,
But understand that absolute truth is only the entrance into a higher realm of existence.
mm,
So there's always a bigger play. There's
mhm,
always a higher level of understanding. And that's why I say my philosophy is ascension via mastery. So when we talk about know who you are, know that you are more than your body. Know that you're more than your conscious being. Know that you're more than your ego, because at some point you have to undergo ego death to
yeah,
recognize
you do. You do.
that you are more than just your body. to recognize that you're more than just your height, to recognize that you are more than just your ability to get women, to recognize that you're more than just your job, your career, your status, your wealth. And that's really when you get into the essence of this thing that we call game. Because once you have these tools, you start to understand that my philosophy or my path to truth or my way of life should center around the knowing of that which is me.
Mhm.
Your
Yeah.
philosophy should center around the knowledge of self.
Hmm.
So when we say know who you are, and when we say you need to have a philosophy that you can articulate, you need to be able to say, I am this, I am
Mm.
that, I
Mm.
am who I am. And that is what prepares you not only for acquiring the type of woman that you desire, an intimate exchange with, a relational exchange with, experiences with, expansion with, but it also prepares you for fulfillment. It prepares you for legacy. It prepares you for transition. What happens once you're beyond this plane of existence?
Yeah.
That is what is encapsulated in this thing that we call game. It's just that, the average person who promotes game really doesn't necessarily uh, get to that point in their discussions. It's not
Yeah.
because they're not capable of going there. It's not because they don't have that level of wisdom and understanding. It's just that a lot of people don't ask these great questions. I think that the what does it mean to know who you are is a great question. And Pimp God, before we go forward, did you have anything to add to that?
I would say that in the Bible they refer to this precept or story where um, I think it was Moses. Um, they said that he sat before something that was known as a burning bush.
Mhm.
And this bush was on fire in the way they described it in the Bible. But the physical bush wasn't consumed by it, right? Within every man, right, if you have a soul, is an in, is an inner flame. And so what you are essentially is a mini God. And that flame within you is a microcosm of the macro, right? And so when Moses sat before the burning bush, right, he quieted himself before his inner flame. What does this mean? Breathe in, you breathe in oxygen. Breathe out, you breathe out carbon. What gives off carbon when it burns? How is that possible? Because you do have an inner flame within you, right? But that part of the flame doesn't burn material matter. So in your meditations, right, understand that you're eternal. A practice I would give you is in your solitude, imagine that you're sitting before a white flame, a big white flame, like in when you go camping and you sit before the fire. But imagine that you're sitting before a white flame, and just maybe for 10 minutes, a night or something, and just sit quiet, or even in the bed. Just imagine yourself sitting like Indian style in front of this huge, but it's all white. Why white? Because the white part of the flame, which you often don't see, is the part of the flame that's inside of you. There is a white part of a flame. But that part of the flame doesn't burn material matter. So that's why when you read the physical Bible, right, when you read the Bible, you're reading something that's allegorical. It's talking about something else also, other than just the context in which it's said. So if Moses got to know the I am, who God is, tell them I am that I am, right? Then isn't that how you get to know who you are? Because ultimately, what you are, right, is not just defined, right, by this physical world, right, as was just said, but what you are essentially, right, is an inner flame. And so, what you want to do, if I could, is spend time before your inner flame, right? But instead you imagining that it's white, right? And you just understand that in that practice, you're actually before a microcosm of the absolute. There is a flame in man, and when he breathes out the same thing that a fire gives off when it burns. There is a flame inside of you, but we just have to understand that higher consciousness or intuition, your inner voice, your gut feeling, all these things that we refer to. An atheist will say something like that. Somebody don't even believe in God, they'll be like, man, something told me not to come to work today, or something told me not to go down that street, or something told me not to marry that, whatever, or whatever the case may be. Understand that there's an eternal part of you that represents fire. And so just imagine in your mind, you're sitting Indian style, dark room before a flame, but understand that that flame is the eternal part of yourself that will continue to burn after they bury, right? Because it's not physical. You see what I'm saying? So I hope that didn't freak anybody out, but I hope I explained that well enough to be followed. But that's my contribution to that question.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, we appreciate visual aids. Listen, this is a
No, I'm kidding.
multi-dimensional, multimedia presentation here. All right.
Sorry.
And definitely for the chat, get the likes up, keep the likes going. Definitely share the stream. Holler at the Teton Tabernacle if you can. But let's give it up for Zay 6361 for the dub. Absolutely. All right. You get a bit of that ASP Holy Ghost for this one. It says, I'd really appreciate if y'all commented the names of each book you reference, including anything on self-mastery. Absolutely. Patrice O'Neal was known for his negative perspective on women, yet also known to be a pimp. What is y'all opinion on him? So if I let me see. Off the bat, Patrice O'Neal was definitely a philosopher, and he was ahead of his time.
Yeah.
He looked internally first, and what was interesting with how you worded your question, you said Patrice O'Neal was known for his negative perspective on women. I think that he was known for his relationship with women. See, and when we talk about perspective is a reflection. It reflects how a person has received what it is that they're viewing or they're reflecting on. Patrice definitely loved women.
Oh yeah.
Especially when he went to Brazil, right? And one thing that I can say about when you watch his or listen to his clips and you listen to his thoughts and musings on women in general his woman in particular, and things of that nature. He he was really thoughtful with how he presented um, his whether or not he had a gripe, whether he had a concern, and I would have to say that he dealt with women on an individual level,
Mhm.
unless he was given like a commentary on the general state of women of a certain culture. Okay, but his overall disposition was that he loved women, and in that he recognized the relationship between men and women, the
Mhm.
natural relationship, the organic relationship
Yeah.
between men and women, and that was what he um, was looking to evolve. Um, you know, as his career went in the direction that he was becoming more and more popular. Obviously, before his transition, ultimately he had put out that special "Elephant in the Room,"
Mhm.
before his passing, and he had started to work on losing weight and changing his lifestyle so that he can really
Yeah.
continue this evolution. Unfortunately, he transitioned before that evolution could really take hold, but he was starting to gain traction and gain momentum. And so for me, I would say that his perspective reflected what the woman who was in front of him put out, because there are a lot of clips and a lot of interviews where he had um, legendary experiences and exchanges with women. So
Mhm.
that's what I would say. He gave what he received, and I think that that was something that was controversial. If a woman gave him positivity and was flirting and all that fun stuff, that's what he gave back. But if she gave bitch, if she gave ratchetness, if she gave chaos, he reflected that back to her as a lesson that
Mhm.
you can't just expect the men that you encounter to receive that garbage and and
Mhm.
and give you back flowers. But what's your take on this, Pimp guy?
Yeah, I would say that he was the thing philosophically that women love in the on the physical side of things. Like, that's why they call the mirror, the mirrors that had the lights going around, they call it the vanity,
Uh-huh.
the vanity mirrors, you know what I mean? And she's just doing her thing or whatever. But philosophically, emotionally, um, mentally,
Hmm.
he was a a woman's mirror. And women like the physical mirror, they like the vanity mirror, right? Vanity mirror. But they don't like the philosophical mirror because they're not used to men actually seeing them
Right.
and then showing them themselves. And that's what he did. And he did it comedically.
Hmm.
And he was like Kevin Samuels in that you couldn't deter him with trying to throw him off, as a woman couldn't deter him from his philosophical stuff, like when they were called into the Philip for Philippe show or whatever,
Yeah,
and they were
Black
trying to
Phillip.
throw, oh yeah, oh this is that, and he would make light of it because the more that you understand yourself, the easier it is to understand one, and they become less of a, you know, something that is something to fear, because a lot of people, they fear what they don't understand. And so but the more that you understand yourself, the more apparent everything outside of you starts to become. And so knowledge of self is what creates what could be called objective view. objective views. And so he had objective views, and he could basically on tap. As soon as they call in, based on what they say, or guys will call in and say, "Man, my girl is doing this. What should I do? What should I do?" And they were calling him like he was like the dial a pimp. You know what I'm saying? Like they was trying to get game on different things, but he made it comedic and funny. But it was on point because he understood female nature, and he was good at showing them themselves. You know, you can't attract women at the highest level and worry about them leaving because of something that you said or did. You can't attract them and fear losing them at the same time. You can't attract them and fear losing them at the same time. So as you come into knowledge and you come into truth and different things like that, we talked about earlier developing your self-image and things of that nature. Well, what comes with that is something called boundaries.
Right.
You might not have them, but your higher self do. The higher version of you, the next level of you. If somebody looked up to me, all I am is an example of a better version of you that you have to define. You know what I'm saying? It's not me. It's it's about you becoming a better version of yourself. And when you define that dude, maybe not you, but that dude got boundaries. Boundaries are not things that you set for women. Boundaries are things that you set for yourself. And they go with you everywhere that you go. You see what I'm saying? For a while, I had taken a couple of my smaller pieces of gold and I cashed them in. Of course, it was all profit because of where I got it from and when I cashed them in. But I don't believe in trading an asset for a liability. I believe in trading in an asset for another asset. So what I did was I started a peer-to-peer lending thing for a while, where I took some of my smaller pieces of gold, turned it into cash, and then I lent it out at 13% to people. For something if you need, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I would just, but here's the other thing. If what you were doing, I couldn't see how I was going to get my money back from that, then my answer was no. And God bless. And Godspeed. And Mother of God, Hail Mary. I hope the best for you. But this is about making sure that my ducats come back safely with more hoes. You know what I'm saying, so to speak. They got it. That's why I did it. And when I got done doing that, right, then I took that cash back to the coin shop and then converted it back to gold, right? And then put it back in my stash. So I believe in taking things, what I mean, and using them, for, transferring one asset to another. But the gist of it is that it's got to make sense. And just like a female, right? I can't worry about somebody getting cross with me or angry with me because I didn't lend them money this time on that deal. Well, I don't like that deal. I don't see how that's going to turn back around and you'll be able to pay me back. I'm not sending my money out there like that. So in the same way, you are your first business. You. The way you feel, the way you see yourself, you being good, that comes first. So if loving a woman starts taking away from that, she got to go. Right? And that's why I said earlier about Patrice O'Neal, you know, um, you can't worry about losing a woman and expect to attract them at the same time. A lot of what attracts a woman is a man that has a measure of autonomy and a sense of self. See, because she's got to be able to trust you to lead her. She can't trust a man that's worried about losing her. She can't trust you to lead her because she knows if she just, and or whatever. You know how women can be. You could be driving in a car and she's looking out the window while you're driving, and you're looking over at her, and she just out the window. Just playing games, or sometimes she might be upset, but whatever the case may be, your foundation has to be solid to the point where, there was a chick that I dated, and I'm gonna be quick. She was fine, and when she used to be married, her and her husband used to get behind sometimes on their rent. And so she had a brother that was good at saving money. So sometimes the couple will borrow money from the brother and they always paid him back. One day they borrowed the money and he never minded lending to them because they always paid him back. But one time they borrowed the money and she wanted to test her husband. And she said, "Babe, I saw this, whatever it was. It was a dress or some furniture or some dumb shit that she would have been overjoyed if they used the money instead for this dumb shit rather than to pay the rent." And guess what he did?
Mm.
He said, "Okay, baby, if it'll make you happy." And she said, "Warren, every time I did that," yeah, she did it more than once. Because she kept testing him. She said, "Each time I lost another increment of respect for him. Every time. You can't worry about losing her and expect for her to be attracted to you at the same time. You got to do what you have to do." So that's my little piece, and I'm done on that.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Definitely some wisdom drop from that particular question. And that's a cold story right there. That's a cold story, considering we're on the subject of a man having a philosophy and being able to articulate it.
Yes.
Because part of a philosophy includes what you mentioned, those boundaries, because
Boundaries.
a
Yes.
philosophy includes values and principles.
Yes.
What do you value, and how do you stand on those values?
Yes.
What are the principles that you establish in
Yeah.
terms of the order of the day, the
Yeah.
rules of engagement,
Mm-hmm.
right? How you expect your operation to be managed and to be run. And so over the course of the examples that you gave with the lending and the expectation of repayment, those are expectations based on
Yeah.
principles.
Yes.
And so when we talk about a man's philosophy, it encompasses all of these elements in these aspects.
Yes.
That's why I
Yes.
say that game is a philosophical curriculum.
Yes,
When
it
I use that
is. It
word
is.
curriculum, it
Yeah.
covers various subjects. It
Right.
covers various areas. It covers identity. Who are
Yeah.
you? It
Yeah.
covers development.
Yeah.
It covers what it means to be a man, masculinity,
Mm-hmm.
rules of engagement that you establish
Yep.
when when you are uh, engaging with the type of woman that you desire to acquire a relationship and or a
Hmm.
certain level of relationship. We haven't even touched on the roster, okay? What it
Yeah.
means to promote a woman through your structure.
Hmm.
What do certain women mean to you within your operation? What does
Right.
she contribute? What's the value exchange? You know what your value is. You
Hmm.
know what you're presenting and what you're bringing to an experience. You're bringing yourself, the light bearer, the
Yeah,
truth teller, the
that's right.
experience maker, the producer of the
That's right.
world
There
that
you go.
they come into.
Enjoy. Yes.
Absolutely. And so you also bring what your expectations are. So they don't ever have to ask that question that women are famous for asking. Well, what are we? What do I mean to you?
Yes.
Women ask these
Yes.
questions of men who haven't established what that is. Hey, Susan, Kim, Rachel, your Thursday, your
Okay.
Saturday.
Hmm.
Okay. And you communicate that in the way that you manage the engagement, the scene, as I call it.
Hmm.
How how often do you text? Do you even allow phone calls? Whose place or residence is the scene for your engagement? What do you do while you're engaging with them? What are they learning? What do you expect them to come away with? Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. I used to be a
Sure.
bartender,
Sure.
so I enjoy good mixology. Okay,
Hmm.
and so when I would entertain or have women company come through, I would show them step by step. Hey, this is one of my favorite drinks. It's a rusty nail. It has scotch, vermouth, drambuie. I like a little white champagne with mine. So this amount of scotch, this amount of drambuie, this amount of vermouth, and a splash of white champagne. Now you make it. Here are the ingredients. One ice cube. All right. Let's see. Step by step. This is how you do what I enjoy.
Hmm.
Now, the next time I visit your residence, will you have those ingredients? You see,
Hmm.
you can. I I hesitate to use test, but test is the correct term.
Hmm.
You can observe how much she values your operation by how compliant she is,
Hmm.
how innovative she is,
Hmm.
what kind of forethought does she give you
Yeah.
in terms of anticipation before your next engagement, anticipation of what you value before you come in. You mentioned, hey, I was just enjoying this wonderful book recommendation. It's this, that, and the third. I haven't had a chance to pick it up, but as soon as I can, I'm gonna pick it up. The next time you see her, did she pick it up? I'm just giving examples
No,
of
that's a good. That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah.
value exchanges. Go
When
ahead.
D'Angelo came out with a Black Messiah album, um, every time that the family would, load up in the Range Rover, what I'm saying, and we go, somewhere. If that song, Really Love, I think that was the first single that he released from it. When that came on, I'd be bumping it. You know what I'm saying? And then one day, probably a couple of days later, I didn't even think of it. Um, my baby mama gave me the album. She had
Mm.
bought it, still in the plastic, everything. She just said, "Here," And then now I don't have to wait till it come on the radio. I could bump that and other stuff that I was learning from the album because I'm a musician too.
Mhm.
So, but your woman, a woman's superpower is intuition. A woman's superpower is intuition. And when your woman is properly into you, right? A lot of stuff that you need, you don't even have to express to her. She's already looking to fulfill needs or things, even if she's like at your house a lot. When you start getting low on detergent, you know what I'm saying? You probably got a couple more loads left. Nah, she when you start getting low, you come in and it's all these bags, on the kitchen table. She didn't have time to put it up, but she went to the store and loaded you up before she went to work. And then you come home, the refrigerator, this stuff, this, that, and the third. They look for it because a woman's that's her nature. Women look at a man. Here's the thing. I talked earlier about your light and how that's more important than your size. Women look at men from the inside out. And if the inside is not real, but you got all of the, what I'm saying, this, that, and the third, what I'm saying, it's everything out here, what I'm saying, okay, that's nice, but if the inside is not authentic, you know what I'm saying? Just like they got fake gold out here, you know what I'm saying? Even fake gold jewelry, where when you open it up and you see they got some crap, what I'm saying, in the center of it to make the weight. But just only the outside is, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, women look at you from the inside out. So
Absolutely.
Ron Wills talks about body game. All those things are important, but always make sure that your why. Why are you doing these things? It's from the inside out, not from the outside. Anyway,
Absolutely.
I'm done with that.
No, no, indeed, indeed. You get a visit from the ASP Holy Ghost for that one. Let's
Okay.
talk about it. That's appreciated. Absolutely, absolutely.
What's up?
Once again, thanks to all of those who have been participating in this live stream today. Don't forget to show your love to the Tea Talk Tabernacle via Cash App. We appreciate any super chats that you have, but like, subscribe, and share this particular stream because there's so much game that has been dropped over these last 2 hours that you will need to go back and unpack it at a speed
Yeah,
that you can really absorb
digest it.
and just metabolize
Yeah.
what is being brought across to you this evening. Real quick, PG, do you have any projects that are coming up that you want to make mention of, or any channels that you want to shout out?
Let's see. Let's see. I would just say let's give some attention to my Patreon. I have
Yes, indeed.
three. One is the gist, me and Bella Bliss. That one is based upon tiers of levels of and based upon what you get, what you pay for, basically. It's tiers, you know what I'm saying? From on that one, just tiers of game, and we deal with a lot of like psychology, personal growth, and stuff like that. It's almost like the college
Mhm.
level of self development. You know what I'm saying? So we follow actual curriculum from all year. It's very just like college.
Mhm.
Then there's the Mac life. The
Mm.
Mac life is just where I drop game to help men win in life because in my philosophy, Mac means winning. Player in Mac position has
Mhm.
nothing to do with women at all.
Mhm.
So, but people would know that when they see, oh, your company is called Pimp God. Yeah, but Pimp is an acronym for player in Mac position, an
Mhm.
individual who's playing the game to Mac, to win, to put themselves in Mac position, winning position. It's Nipsey Hussle said it's a cold game, but I knew it was chess,
Mm.
right? And so when I drop stuff on the Mac life, It's just game, you know what I'm saying, to grow on. You know what I'm saying, as you work towards winning in this game of life. It's chess. And then the last one is called the most hated Patreon, most hated. On that one, I drop stuff that would be most hated by somebody. On some stuff, women probably won't like this one, or the establishment might not like this
Mm,
one, or malevolent deities
yeah.
might not like this one. You know what I'm saying? This the most hated. And it also stemmed from there are archive videos on there as well, because I've had 14 channels taken down since I started gaining traction on YouTube. And so the archive videos on the most hated are from all of those channels. Not every video, most of that stuff I lost. But what was retrieved from those older videos, starting with 2017, on up to like 2021 or something like that.
Now, is
I
that
got
is that a website? I'm sorry. Is the most
it's
hated?
it's a
Is it
Patreon.
Patreon?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
yeah. The most hated Patreon, the most hated. Um um and so those are the three that I have: the most hated, the Mac Life, right, or the Gist. And and so if you just want to plug in and just get some regular game, join one of my Patreon.
Yes, indeed. Absolutely. So, as always, it is a pleasure and a joy and a privilege to be able to sit down and talk up game with the legendary Pimp God. Everybody who is in the
With you
audience,
too,
make
sir.
sure you, no, I appreciate it. You subscribe, you forward this to people that need this information, because let's be
Sure.
clear, this is just foundational information. We are going to continue to build
Yeah,
a structure
yeah.
that solidifies and expands upon the existing philosophies, so that people have the ability to absorb it, like PG said, so that
Hmm.
they can really sit with it, reflect on it, so that they can come into a better understanding and knowledge of who they are, not only who they are, but why they are here. Not only why
Hmm.
they're here, but where they are going. Not only where they are going, but why the destination is what it is. So once again, shout out to the PG, ultimate hip god himself. Shout out to the audience. And as always, this is your man, Cousin T, aka the Alpha Wingman, saying, stay sharp and mission focused. Later.